Welcome, I'm Rabbi Phil Bressler of Beit Am in Corvallis, Oregon, and this is the daily summary video for the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch Yomi Daily Halakha Learning Project, covering the passage from Siman 82, Seif 3 to Siman 82, Seif 8. You can find links to the Hebrew and English text of this passage and to the calendar of upcoming passages in this video's description. We're talking again today and also tomorrow about some of the ins and outs, as it were, of the melacha of carrying from one domain to another. Now, both the initial and final actions involved in carrying an object from one domain to another are considered prohibited. So both picking a thing up in order to carry it and putting it down. Those are both prohibited actions. Now, the consequences of this is that if a non-Jew does one action for you, you can't directly do the other one. The Kitzur's example here is, say a baby boy is born and his 8th day falls on Shabbat. He needs to be taken to the synagogue in order to be circumcised in the ceremony of Brit Milah. You can't hand the baby directly to a non-Jew in order to carry him there for you. A non-Jew has to come and pick up the baby at home and carry him to shul for you. And additionally, once the baby's there, carried by your non-Jewish friend, the baby has to be put down there before you can pick him up. You can't directly accept the handoff. Now, the footnotes seem to imply that this would never actually happen anyway. You still couldn't actually transport the baby beyond the limits of an Eruv because you could really just do the circumcision at home. That happens all the time, and there's no reason not to do it there. So this may not be a great example, but you get the idea. If there was an Eruv in place too, and the synagogue was within the Eruv, then there's no need for the non-Jew. So maybe not a great example, but you get the idea. Seifim 4 to 6 cover what happens if your private domain breaks in such a way that it no longer qualifies as a private domain, opening it enough to the public that you can't any longer carry inside of that domain. So the operative example, and I'll make a diagram at some point, I think when we get to the passages about Eruvim, to describe this, but the sort of classic model is a courtyard with multiple, so roughly a more or less square courtyard with multiple apartments attached to it around, and with one passage out from that courtyard into the public domain or to potentially an alleyway. So, in such a courtyard where there's been a partition wall erected inside it, say that courtyard is sort of split in half with some kind of temporary or semi-permanent partition wall, this would probably be done in order to kind of close off part of that courtyard. Because remember, that's that might be kind of an in-between space, not exactly private, not exactly public, because multiple people own it or have usage of it and pass through it. So what you might want to do is close part of it off and make it a contiguous private domain with some number of the apartments coming off of that courtyard in order to combine them all into one contiguous domain through a mechanism called Eruv Chatzerot, which we'll explain in Siman 94. That would let you carry from your apartment through the partitioned off part of the courtyard and into another friend's apartment for Shabbat celebration. Okay, so basically if the wall breaks and the broken down part is small enough and it's not the entirety of the wall, remember a private domain needs 4 walls, you might be able to just get away with calling that broken out part a door. Just say, that's our entry and exit point through this partition wall, and it's still a private domain. If it's too big for that, you might be able to put up what's called Tzurat HaPetach, basically put up 2 posts and either a stick or a string to sort of serve as the lintel, and give the shape of a door, literally Tzurat HaPetach, the form of a door, and that could make the broken down section part of a door. And in this way, basically, you can maintain the integrity of your private domain without doing a full repair on Shabbat. If your house or courtyard has a door that opens inward, leading out to the public domain, the area that's just inside the door may be private or it may be Carmelites. So don't bring stuff into that area right inside your door that opens inward, even if, for example, you need a key to open the lock you should have a non-Jew do it as well. And remember, the handoff, the non-Jew has to take the key out and put it down. You can't, needs to leave the key in the lock. I'm sorry, because you can't take the direct handoff. If you've got a roof that extends out from your house, you can, like maybe a deck that extends out, or a piece of the roof that overhangs and is supported out there by pillars. You might think that's part of your private domain, since there is kind of a door shape to it formed by the pillars and the overhang, but it's a Carmelite, if not an outright public domain. They're not actual walls there, so don't do any carrying inside that overhanged space. That's all for today. As always, our learning is dedicated to Rabbi Shlomo Gansfried, the author of the Kitzur, and the historic Jewish community of Uzhhorod, Ukraine. See you tomorrow.